I'm just a regular guy. I'm just a regular guy that fortune has smiled upon. And I stand before you today, an example of a man who has fulfilled his destiny and who is living his childhood dream. Check this out. 100 nights a year, I stand on a stage and I play music with my buddies. We create and we play to thousands of people who in turn shower us with applause, affection, and love. It's a fantastic job. And if any of you ever get the opportunity to join a world-class band like Blue Rodeo, like I did, I strongly urge you to consider that option. It's a good life. But as you can imagine, this path to living my dream didn't come easy. No, in fact, it was a long, hard, very hard road. And I would not be here today if not for chance encounters with two strangers, the beggar and the icon. Two people completely different, yet they shared a common knowledge and wisdom with me. And from that wisdom, I was able to fashion a tool, a psychological tool so powerful that I've used it every day of my life for the last 20 years to navigate down that long, hard road, to navigate through the barriers, through the disappointments, the disasters, the roadblocks. What is that tool, you may be thinking? It is simply the tool of perspective, the ability for you to step outside of yourself and view yourself, your situation, your life, your dreams through the eyes of another, through a different perspective or from a different viewpoint. The tool of perspective. And I will illustrate now the power of this tool to change your lives with the story of the beggar and the icon. Our story begins long ago and far away, deep in the bowels of the financial district of downtown Chicago. I'm in the austere and foreboding office of my accountant, signing papers. I sign the paper that transfers over my checking account and my savings account to the Internal Revenue Service, the tax authority. I sign the paper that turns over my very large and wonderful corporate retirement account to the tax authority. I sign the paper that turns over my house. And I even sign over the paper that turns over $50,000 I haven't even earned yet to the IRS. And as I leave my accountant's office that day, I turn north and head up LaSalle Street through the throng of business people on their lunch break with their perfect suits, their good haircuts, their expensive shoes, and their sense of perpetual purpose. And I reminisce, I remember, because not too long before, I was one of them. Yes, there was a time when I had it all. I had the big, fantastic corporate job. I had the office on the 27th floor with a view and my name on the door. I had the respect of an industry, the accolades of my peers, and I had literally more money than I knew what to do with. And from this lofty perch, I was tempted. I was tempted by an offer from a rival firm. And that offer was more prestige and more money. I took that offer. But what this rival firm required from me, I could not deliver. And my fall from grace was swift and it was certain. I lost not only my job, I lost my entire career because there was nowhere left to go but down. And down I went into a 2-year depression. And now, the day I feared the most, the day when I would lose all of my money, was upon me. And as I walked up LaSalle Street with that weight on my back, I realized for the first time in my life that I was literally a man with nothing. Just south of Diversity Avenue, I passed an abandoned storefront, and there was a beggar sitting on a piece of cardboard in the doorway. He held his cup out, shook the coins, and said, "Spare change?" I stopped, turned, and shot him a look that could kill. How dare he ask me for anything? I am a man with nothing. I was furious. And by the time I reached Diversity Avenue, he'd caught up with me. He straggled alongside me, looked at me and said, "Lighten up. You ain't got it all that bad." And as the light changed in the crosswalk, I was frozen. I could not move as his words washed over me. And for the first time in 2 long years, I saw my life not through the perspective of what I had lost, but what I had. And when I looked at my life through the eyes of this beggar, he was right. I did not have it all that bad. It was like a bolt of lightning. By the time I reached my house, I was giddy. Gone was the depression, gone was that sense of loss, gone was all the negativity, and it was replaced by optimism. Looking through his eyes, I saw the opportunities that were still awaited me in life. And I was so struck by the power of this simple shift in perspective that I began to look at my life through the perspective of others, through the perspective of the man on the street, through the perspective of lawyers and doctors and artists, astronauts, scientists, authors. I had so many perspectives, I had to corral them all together and put them in one room. And that room I keep in my mind. I call that my gallery of heroes. And anytime I would run into a roadblock or a disaster or a disappointment in life, or I needed encouragement or motivation or inspiration, I go to that room. As I step inside, I can look at my situation from the perspective of these different eyes, and I leave that room with the answers. And this tool served me so well that within 5 years, I had built my own successful business. I ran Bob's Guitar Service, a guitar repair shop in downtown Chicago with 5 full-time employees. I had it made. I succeeded again. Now, in every story, there comes a time when the protagonist faces a fork in the road. This is that time. Down one fork was a national corporation that wanted to franchise Bob's Guitar Service nationwide to 100 stores. If I took this fork, I would be wealthy, my life would be secure, I wouldn't have risk. But down the other fork was an American band named Wilco, and they asked me to join them. If I took this fork, there would be no security, there would be a lot of risk, and there would be no thought of financial windfall or security at all. But I would be living my childhood dream. Now, the only problem with living my childhood dream is that I was terrified of it. Terrified. See, I come from a large, disciplinarian, Irish Catholic, working-class family. And the thought in my family that someone would pursue a career in something as frivolous as music was frowned upon. Not only frowned upon, it was forbidden. And to this day, those words ring in my ear. No son of mine will become a musician. You're going to make your mark in this world in business. Because to follow that path of my heart would certainly bring disaster upon myself. and cast shame and humiliation across my family. And so, at this fork in the road, I chose security and wealth over my dream. But Wilco would not be denied, and they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Just come to New York City with us, man, for one show. We're opening up for Johnny Cash. Well, 6 weeks later, I found myself backstage in the dressing room of the Irving Plaza in Midtown Manhattan. Johnny Cash walks up to me, shakes my hand, and he says, "I understand you're the new steel player in Wilco." No, sir, Mr. Cash. They asked me, and it's my childhood dream, and it's everything I've ever wanted, and I love these guys like brothers. But. And then I proceeded to shower the poor man with all my fears and my anxieties and my tortured family history. And 10 minutes later, he put his hand on my shoulder. He looks me in the eye and he said this: "It's a hard road, but if your heart is in the right place, it's a good life." And as he stepped back to take his leave, I saw the man in black in a silhouette of the dressing room light. And for the first time in my life, I saw my dreams through a different set of eyes. Not the eyes of my family, not the eyes of society, not even the eyes of Johnny Cash. I saw my dream through my own eyes. And I knew right then and there, this was my destiny. And this is the path that I would take. The following day, I flew back to Chicago. I gathered all my employees around me, and I sold my business to them. And at age 38, I set foot on a tour bus for the first time, and I have never looked back since. And I owe it all to those chance encounters with two complete strangers. And what became of them? Well, you recall in my mind, I have my gallery of heroes. The beggar greets me at the door every time I go there. And his eyes are the first set of eyes that I look at my life through. And as for the man in black, well, he has passed on from this earth. But 100 nights a year, as I stand on the stage, I look out over the crowd, above their heads, into the spotlight, and I see the silhouette of the man in black. You are right, Mr. Cash. It was a hard road, but with your help, it was a good life. It was a very good life. Thank you, Johnny, and thank you.